Well, it's been a little bit of a change in plans, but nonetheless, welcome to RPL Tier 3. It is time for the first ever race of this tier. A brand new tier, and part of a tier that has merged with Eggles League. And it is also time for the first race in RPL on F1 24. I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles. I was supposed to be racing, but a last-minute change in plans has put me back in the commentary box for tonight. Would have loved to be racing with these guys in Tier 3. As most of you all know, this is why I commentate. I'm this slow. But it's okay. We're going to watch these other drivers, 19 of them, going to be 20 soon, I think, tackle this tricky circuit. This circuit will definitely be one for tire wear that will be a little bit tricky. This will be one for the field to kind of mix it up and see what they can do. 29 laps aboard of us, and short qualifying, 50% race. That is our format. A little bit of clouds in the sky, but no rain expected at all. We're in Bahrain. We shouldn't have any rain. And if we do, that'd be a very big shock. A last-minute shock for sure. So, before we get qualifying underway, which is supposed to be the case in about 10 seconds, let's talk about just a few things here in terms of this game that we all should know about. That is a bit different. So, lap 2, we will have DRS now. That is a change. ERS managing is another change as well in terms of how things are there. Similar to 2020, similar to 2019, some may say. Something at this track that I noticed when practicing was that turns 1 through 4 and 8 are very tricky on the traction, and you don't want to touch the curbs in the S's at all. You will absolutely have an unpleasant time. Tire pressures all the way to the right seems to be the meta this game. Default setups, they're much more worse. Tire wear is different, and it's different in its certain own way. Why is it different? Well, if you lock up, drive with an aggressive style, and just end up throwing the car in there like you could do in qualifying and time trial, you'll end up losing tire wear. So a lot of these drivers will have those in the back of their mind, and those who don't will not know about it, and they'll find out about it here tonight. One other thing to mention in general before we get going to the regular things for Tier 3 that we need to mention. The flashing on the back of another driver's car, that is different this game. Why do you see a car flashing more frequently? Well, last game it was maybe because they were below 10% on their ERS. This game, that is one of the reasons they will be flashing. Another reason for that will be the fact that they are in none mode, or they're in overtake mode. So the flashing can be a bit confusing from seeing that on the back of a driver. However, that is what is different this time around. Another thing as well that we should talk about, preseason events. Tier 3, we had 2 different winners for preseason. We had Valkyrie F1 back in Spain win preseason. And last week it was Wavy Knife. But Wavy Knife is not a full-time Tier 3 driver. So if we're going based on our Tier 3 drivers, it was born in Shanghai. 2 favorites ahead of the season we will definitely be looking out for. No doubt about it. But we'll find out what happens for tonight's 29-lap event. We'll go over the calendar quickly before we get laps going, because I believe RPL Jordan will be one of our first ones to go. Same with FG Pac-Man. Here's our calendar for the season for Tier 3. We start off in Bahrain, then go to Qatar, then the European stretch of Austria, Spain, Spa, Britain, Hungary. Oh wait, this is Tier 2. Let me go to Tier 3. I don't have the Tier 3 calendar pulled up, so that is my bad. But being a little late in action, that is why. But okay, so Tier 3 calendar, here's what we got. We got Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Imola, Britain, Hungary, Baku, Texas, Mexico, China, and we end off in Abu Dhabi. So, apologies for going over the Tier 2 calendar on accident. I kind of jumped the gun there because, well, I have everything for Tier 2 prepared tomorrow, but not Tier 3. Since, if you're just missing, I was one of the drivers supposed to be in here. But a last-minute change has left things where they're at. So that is not fun, that's to say the least. But, anyways, RPL Jordan is on a lap, and while I quickly be right back in just a moment here to set up 1 or 2 more things, We're going to go on board with him to finish this lap. Watch and notice from the drivers the different ERS modes they choose on their qualifying laps. They have a lot more to play with this game. So my apologies, George Alp Williams, fastest so far. We're going to talk about a lot of other drivers throughout this session. While we're at it, we're going to go on board with Mythic and watch him, one of the drivers from Tier 2, dropping down to Tier 3 this game, as you may notice. Either way, let's talk about a few things with this tier before we get proper hot laps on. We're going to watch Mythic's lap, but talk about a few things at the same time. In terms of our driver chart, we have every seat decided, I believe, except for one. So, yeah, I believe that's maybe the second Williams seat, possibly. We went over the format. We went over everything else. Okay, let's go over the one thing we were missing. Drivers making their RPL debut tonight or making their RPL return. George Alp Williams was banned from racing for a little bit. He will be back in tonight's event, this time in the Red Bull. You're probably wondering, you saw George before, why is he in a Red Bull? Well, he's running no line, and he's on different assists. So that is why he is in this one, unlike usual. Gerard in the Visa Cash App Racing Bull, making his RPL debut. RPL Jordan making his RPL return. We didn't get to see a lot of him besides maybe Portugal and F1 at the end of last game. Matthew Wrightson making his RPL return as well. We saw a bit of him in preseason. How about the McLaren tow right here? That's the first of it this game in terms of our races. FG Pac-Man, you saw him a lot in preseason. He's making his debut in RPL. Lennon is making his RPL return, once a winner in Tier 2. Cobra Mac making his RPL debut. Mythic goes 6 fastest. That's quite neatly done from Mythic. Frosty Life, I believe this is the Curry guy from China, Tier 2, making his return there. Drift King, RPL debut. Optical debut. Jake Bandy, RPL debut. Azer, RPL debut. Born in Shanghai, returning. FBL returning. And this is a first start from the Williams driver on loan tonight, I believe, of Bahrain. So let's get a hot lap going. We have a McLaren out on track that is SV. And let's talk about the difference in qualifying laps this year like we did earlier. You're going to have to utilize your battery a lot more different. You can cut the inside of that curb at turn 10, you can notice. But you're going to have to utilize that battery much more differently, and here's why. You see him already at 30%, managing it honestly quite poorly. But based on what we've seen a lot of drivers do, medium seems to be the meta from turn 4 to turn 8. Hot lap probably the rest of the way, and it's really your choice on when you want to put that overtake button on and off. But the McLaren's working out the slipstream for both drivers already, and it is paying off. It put Mythic up to 5th already. Now we're going to see where this puts SV. And now, here we go. SV across the line. Goes fastest. How about that from SV, who had such a poor ending to the Tier 2 season at the end of last game. And such a heartbreaking preseason for him. Only one finish in all those tiers he competed in. If you include preseason, 8 out of 10 races he's DNF'd in. He's wanting to change that, and I'm sure he could. Born in Shanghai is up to 7th. Look at this close grid already. You got 8 drivers within half a second right now. You got Frosty Life on and out on a cooldown lap. You got Cobra Mac on an out lap. Drift King on an out lap. Optical. Who's the closest one to the line? I think it is Cobra Mac. An RPL driver making his debut for tonight. Let's see how those drivers on their debut end up doing. Oh. And I will have to get used to some of the new names as well, by the way, for this upcoming season. It's unfortunate. With that being said, not being able to race, but I'm in the commentary box mostly as always. You do hear my voice quite a bit, but usually it would be tonight, me taking the night off and going on track, but last minute changes led to me being here, and now I have all the knowledge in the world to go over these laps. Here we go, turn 1, Cobra Mac. You do want to go late on the brakes here. Traction is so tricky to get on the power at turn 2. You feel like you're going to spin. You don't know when you're going to spin. But this Alpine car, throughout the race, we will watch it fall off in tire wear quite quickly, being one of the bottom 4 cars. Not as late on the brakes as you would have wanted to go from Cobra Mac's point of view into turn 4. Now he's still stuck on hot lap here. Through the S's. You don't want to touch the right side curb. You lost a little bit of time. Because say the driver in the area of this car does not feel entirely confident, and you could see losing the rear into the gravel, and that's the first big mistake we've seen so far this session. Cobra Mac gonna have to go for another one. We're gonna go with Drift King now, who is 13th place on our leaderboard. DRS applied. Now down to turn 4. This is where you start to see the overtake button used, right here. You would want to go into medium and start to save it right around here. Hot lap right here. Maybe medium right before the S section. Nope. Gonna stay in hot lap here. Riding that curb, he's a second up, which is really good, especially considering his first lap was kind of a test lap. Now you got turn 8 right here, second gear. You don't really want to go down to second gear there. Using overtake out of turn 8 can be critical to gain about a 10th. It does gain you that much if you use it at the right moment. Yellow flag's up in front. That is a Mercedes getting out of the way. But for Drift King, though, 55% in the battery. Not game over just yet. You will have another opportunity to use that battery and hopefully not hit deployment use, because that is a bit traumatic, to say the least, from what I've encountered when practicing. But 3 seconds up. This would put him within, I think, the 30s right now if he can complete this lap just fine. But he's going to need more time if he wants to improve any places here. Absolutely no battery into the final corner on hot lap. Will he use the overtake? Yes, he will, but you could already see he's going to be stuck on deployment used coming across the line, and he will lose time, but he will gain a place in the process. Fair play there from Drift King. We've got George up, Williams on a lap. How about this? Going purple, a 10th up on the time. 4th gear through here. See, a little tricky right there. Not as confident on the traction coming out of the corner. But now his ERS, similar to what Drift King's was, not in a good spot. One last braking zone for the driver. 2 corners right here. And Born in Shanghai, he's just nearly tied the top of the board. 1,000 separating him and SV. And George says, I'm going to go even faster than that. Don't worry about being almost tied. Next up is the Ferrari of Invade, who goes back and decides he wants to go fastest over George. Invade leads the charts only 13 thousandths above. Now we're going to watch the teammate who's not had a lap yet set. Rapid Owen. Rapid Owen came into RPL during Tier 2 at the middle of last season. Had some decent races, had some races he'd want to forget, but this being his first lap of Tier 3 and being, well, really everyone else's first lap of Tier 3, let's see what he can do. He's one of the drivers who came into this league also based on Eggs merge that he did with Tier 3. Got 5.5 minutes remaining in this session, but what can Rapid Owen do? Purple in the sector. Jake Bandy's out of the session, so is Azar. As Matthew Wrightson went up to 3rd place, so we got a 4-car fight now for pole position, but can Rapid Owen sneak in into the top 4? He will pick up a slight slipstream from the Mercedes, duck into the pits, but Rapid Owen crosses the line and goes fastest by an absolute astonishing margin. 4 tenths the gap. Mythic is down on the time right now. 5 tenths he's going to need to find in order to improve at any point in the lap. However, Let's see what goes on from Mythic in this sector split. 9/10 down. You could see he's not really on a push lap then. SV is up by a 10th. See what the McLaren driver does. Heading into turn 9 and 10, such a tricky braking zone. If you run no ABS, you're going to be locking up there at least once in the race. And lockups do become more costly on this game. And once again, SV on this qualifying lap seems like poor ERS management. I have to be brutally honest about it, considering that at this point of the lap, you want to be in about 50%, not in 25% range or lower. And that's where he's at. A 10th down. That ERS definitely costing him some time, and he probably would gain a place on Matthew Wrightson, but he's definitely not gonna now, spinning around. We have one driver out on track, and I think that might have been an improvement from Frosty, but we'll find out now. No, he's starting a lap. Let's see. Hot lap into 1. Heavy braking here. Getting close to that curve, but so tricky to put the power down at turn 2. You could just see him losing the rear right there. Very unfortunate for Frosty Life not being able to really maximize turn number 2 right there. FBL, one of the drivers having to serve a qualifying ban due to a late loan decision at Sauber. Got 2 new teams this year, technically. 2 renamed teams, actually, if you want to be specific. It's Kick Sauber, also known as Stake, which was Alfa Romeo, and Visa Cash App Racing Bull F1 team, also known as AlphaTauri. But Frosty Life's only a 10th down. You know, if he does not have these mistakes, he can find the time on this lap. But what I find interesting, though, based on what we've seen so far, obviously both V-Carbs up in the top 10, but from where they're at, from 9th to 10th, from FG Pac-Man and Jordan, there is a big skill gap here in this field. But Frosty Life has found some life at the end of this lap, though, going purple through Sector 2. Obviously not the fastest of everybody, especially being on the Haas. There's no chance of that. But that is one of the things, hopefully, that does get fixed in one of these games on the F1 games in the future. But deployment used across the line, he does improve, only slightly. Still behind his teammate, but not by much, though, so he's got some hope right there. And now, 2.5 minutes remain. Time to see who's going to be on pole for qualifying. There's 12 of you watching. Give us your predictions in the Twitch chat. We're going to ride on board Born in Shanghai through turn 1 through 3 and remain silent to see what he does. And that's a major snap from Born in Shanghai. He's backed off right there. Not happy with it, clearly, and we can't blame him because you do have another chance to go for another lap there if you want to try to maximize it. And why not go for it whenever you're in that position? Cobra Mac will be the next one to cross the line and find out where he will go. Deployment used for him as well, but we do see him not improve at all there. That is quite disappointing there, but he may have another go at this if he recharges correctly. Still pushes on this lap. He can get another lap in there if he does have fuel, but the problem is, though, he's going to retire from the session and call it quits early. However, here's the problem with that from what Cobra Mac just did. He retired on track. That is a big no-no in RPL. That may get sent into the stewards. Frosty Life is going to be the next one across the line. Then we'll go to our drivers trying to go for the pole position time. Got probably about 9 of them at the very most in contention for this. Frosty Life crosses the line and up to 10th place right there. Not bad from Frosty Life, finding some time. Got RPL Jordan finding some time in Sector 1. Got Mythic about to cross the Sector 1 split, and he's finding time. No, he's not actually. That was just a glitch. He's not finding time. But RPL Jordan will be the first one across the line and see what he can do. Some of the guys thought that he was one of these guys, maybe too fast for Tier 3, but we're going to find out tonight, so far in qualifying and in the race, if that will be the case. So, RPL Jordan has just a few more corners to negotiate, and we'll find out if he can improve in this lap. 20 seconds remaining, and both Ferraris still yet to cross the line. They will now. They'll get a lap in. Valkyrie will have one and done as well. She's last of everybody. But Jordan was improving through the sector split, and he'll be the first one to get the checkered flag. Let's see what he can do in this V-Carb. Cross the line, Jordan comes. Checker flag is waving, and Jordan goes up to 5th place. A really good effort from the V-Carb. Next up is Mythic, one of those drivers who dropped down from Tier 2 into Tier 3. Will not get a end of the lap in. That will be it from him. Got the Red Bull driver, Valkyrie, crossing the line. She's using overtake. She's blasting to the line. She'll go only 9th. Gerard also overtakes Jordan and goes up to 5th. A really good effort from both V-Carbs. Lennon is 11th. That's an improvement there, but here comes the Ferraris, or sorry, the Haas's first. Drift King 12th. Improvement slightly there. Next was the Alpine of Optical. Improvement there again. So lots of drivers finding time, but will it be enough from all these guys finding time? SV crosses line. He goes front row. Matthew Wrightson is one of the next ones. George Help Williams, one of the next ones. George, returning after some race bans, can go to the front row now. Matthew Wrightson, deployment used across the line. Not going to be it from him. He couldn't improve. So it's up to both Ferraris. Which one will it be? Rapid Owen, invalidated. RSF1 Invade. He's the last one to go for pole position. Will it be Owen? Will it be Invade? Which one's going to get the first ever Tier 3 pole position across the line now? And he's just shy of it. A Ferrari front row lockout, but it's Owen ahead of Invade for the top 2 spots. And they have done it. Ferrari with a masterclass once again in qualifying. Wow. Look at the gap with the top 11. You've got a Williams up there in the fight. You've got both V-Carbs up there in the fight. But our usual teams, McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, just in differing spots. Here's the grid. Rapid Owen ahead of Invade on the front row. Then you got George and SV in row 2. Matthew Wrightson with a P5 on debut, or return, excuse me. Gerard's on debut, though, 6th place. Then you got Jordan, Shanghai, Mythic, Valkyrie. Some of the drivers returning out to the top 10. You got Lennon in there. Pac-Man on debut. FBL didn't get a lap in. He had to serve a qualifying ban due to being late to the lobby and, of course, the loan itself being after the lobby opened. And there were 2 other drivers at the bottom of the grid we'll have to watch out for who ended up not qualifying there and getting a lap in. So, what do you expect for this race? Well, a 2-stop is a possibility. It's not going to be the prioritization from the drivers. A 1-stop is the way you're going to want to go. I don't think we'll see soft to hards, but it's going to be very likely we see mediums to hards. If you're very terrible on your tire wear or you're one of the back 4 cars, which do end up wasting tires quite quicker, you will most likely have to go for that 2-stop in a way, or at least save your hards or mediums if you're doing a mediums to hards. Shall be interesting to see what happens here in this event. But yeah, formation lap is off, by the way, for clarity, for those of you wondering. 18 of you watching the first Tier 3 event, give us your predictions. We've got 20 seconds until the grid goes. Let's talk about a thing here. Lap 1, turn 1. A lot of these drivers are debuting in RPL. A lot of these drivers are returning in RPL. Some of them are used to racing here, but some of them aren't used to racing with the others on this grid. Do they keep it clean in turn 1, lap 1, let alone lap 1 as a whole? We had a preseason event yesterday to end off things before the season, and turn 1, lap 1 was a bit tricky. The first ever Tier 3 event in RPL is about to kick underway with the 5 red lights going on and off, and we are away. Rapid Owen and Invade side by side for the line, and we got crashes immediately. That's a McLaren, SV around, an Aston around. George diving down the inside for 2nd place, but trouble has already struck at the back of the field for 2 drivers. 1 returning, 1 on debut, and that's a Red Bull going off. That's Valkyrie, but now 2nd place in this race up for grabs. That's a Sauber almost going into the wall as well. FG Pac-Man not having the best of starts right there, but side by side for 2nd. Invade holding on, George holding on. Which one's gonna go in front? It is Invade. Behind that, Matthew Wrightson's getting challenged. This is RPL Jordan going down the inside, and his RPL return. A little bit of contact there. More contact on corner exit. 2x2, 2 rows deep. You saw the Saubers get close right there in the background. Now Matthew Wrightson is just shoving his way through turn 10, trying to push him along and say, get going. We might be able to gain some time. And turn 10, Calamity Corner struck again. That's 4 cars in a gaggle after going off right there. Both Saubers, a Haas, and an Alpine. But you can now see our strategies on board right here as Mythic has now got Gerard, and they're going to be side by side here out of the exit of Sector 2. Oh, there's a bit of touching. And I think Gerard might try to slot in front of Valkyrie, and he does. But we'll look at our positions gained before our tires once again. 3 spots for Jordan, 3 spots for Mythic, 2 for Valkyrie, 5 for Marine on debut. Azure as well, 6 right there. 5 for FBL, lap 1 complete and done. But right now, Rapid Owen has got the advantage. George right behind Invade tucking in, but Valkyrie not tucking in. Going through in Girard. Shanghai wants to have an opportunity as well. Late braking from both. Now, side by side on corner exit, Girard ahead. And I think Lennon has gained a spot. Cobra Mac at the back of the field figuring it out with Jake Bandy. SV is into the pit lane and repairing the front wing. Disappointing start from SV. Obviously wanting a bit better after having a horrid end to the F123 game cycle. Got some overtaking in the midfield. That was about 13th place right there. Valkyrie having a look on Mythic. These two have raced quite a bit in Tier 2. No surprise there that they're racing here once again. But get your braking point figured out for turn 10. It's going to be a big stack up the entire night here as we race through into lap 2. DRS enabled already, by the way. You will see drivers have that compared to last year. And how will this change things? Valkyrie down the inside. Going to be side by side here with Mythic. Sliding right there. Yeah, the V-carb right there of Girard sliding and losing 2 places. But Mythic is still hanging alongside Valkyrie. And that is a yellow flag. That is Shanghai who's hit trouble there at turn 12. Unfortunate for Shanghai's race, but Mythic and Valkyrie, the battle continues here for 6th place in this race. Valkyrie diving up the inside and going through. How about that right there? Azure as well with Drift King going a bit wide in the curbing. Got lots of racing here into lap 3, which would be the time we normally enable DRS, but it is a lap earlier this game, and now once again, Mythic up and under here. Here he goes. Oh, almost clipped the rear of Valkyrie right there. That could have been troubling. We got side-by-side battle between an Aston and a Haas. But Mythic will have to tuck in behind Valkyrie and give that place up. Almost in the back of her right there. That was close. FBL doing some overtaking from the back of the grid here. He had to start back here, obviously, so unfortunate for FBL. But he's up a place again. I think Marine as well was up a place there in Drift King. Or maybe a change in places right there between Azure and Marine. But Rapid Owen leads this race over in Invade. And as you can see, based on the tire choices right here, Rapid Owen all the way to 5th place on mediums. Got some guys on softs like Valkyrie, Optical, Azure, FBL, Jake Bandy. But only 3 of those guys on hards. SV pitted onto them. Frosty Life didn't. Drift King started on them. And now FG Pac-Man in his RPL debut makes a move down the inside on RPL returning driver Lennon. Well, if you want to talk about our race winners previously in this field, in any tier of RPL, you got George Halp Williams, Jordan, Valkyrie, Mythic, Lennon, and that's it. 5 drivers in this grid have won before. Will we get another one tonight? We'll find out. Right now, George is close to Invade, but Valkyrie is closer to Matthew Wrightson. Down the inside, making the move and going through. Now Mythic is there in the background to pounce, but won't do it. You got side-by-side for 11th, side-by-side for 16th. Action all over this grid. And Marine is ahead of Drift King. Matthew Wrightson is getting a little dicey here, ducking out of line. That's caused Mythic to close up, and Matthew Wrightson had a little bit of a slide right there. Mythic is on his inside and cannot get through. Another move, 9th place here. Optical down a place, Drift King up a place in 11th. Battles all over. This is amazing here for Tier 3's first race. And Pac-Man, our first driver on the F124 game cycle and of the Tier 3 season to pick up a track limit penalty. We don't usually see a lot of track limit penalties around Bahrain that often, but with this being Tier 3, a tier for some of our slower drivers in RPL, I can totally understand there at least being 1 or 2 for the drivers really trying to push it and gain the pace that they may not have. Little switch right there. I think that was Girard's around. He's lost some time. He's going to be closed up to 11th place now, but oh, Marine on the inside of Drift King almost connected wheels right there. That could have been very tight between the pair of them. Good racing between these guys. Close quarter, lots of fun. It's good to see on the opening race of Tier 3, but right now, we're about to have a change in the lead. It was one Ferrari in front of the other. Now it's the case right there, but George sneaking his nose right in there, almost clipping the Ferrari of Invade now down the inside of Rapid Owen. Invade leads this race. He's the one who got it. And collision! Mythic and Matthew Wrightson. They both have come together. And I believe there was a spot change for 8th, but this is not over. Valkyrie on Jordan. Up into 4th place ahead of the V-Carb Academy teammate right there at Red Bull. And it looks like we've already lost one from this race. That is Born in Shanghai. Not the RPL return he would have wanted. He's out of it. Hopefully we don't have other drivers retire in the pit lane. I'm going to hope that Shanghai got damage and retired due to that rather than just giving up straight up. Pac-Man makes a move into turn 9 right here, and Maureen switches it back on the inside to go side by side out of corner exit. You got Pac-Man here ahead, Maureen behind now. So this is a battle between Williams versus Sauber for what might be later in this race, based on some of these guys maybe going the 2-stop for points. We'll find out if that does end up being for points. But one more time, DRS down the main straight. This time, it's Invade leading Owen, and we're going to find out what the difference will be in hot lap versus first and second in DRS. And now, oh, George down the inside. 3 cars going 3 wide. George tried to go for it. Rapid Owen tried to defend, and that was nearly a collision. Matthew Wrightson and Mythic. I think there's been more contact because Matthew Wrightson's car was ghosted right there. And that usually happens when there is a bit of contact. And what's happened here between the 2 Ferraris? A switch in the lead. Invade maybe letting Owen go at this stage. Both on 80% ERS compared to George's 45. Bit weird there that they've switched it like that. Did Invade make a mistake that had allowed Owen into the race lead? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But a swap in positions here for 17th. Cobra Mac struggling. Frosty Life through. Well, Shanghai, it was him going airborne earlier in this race in the first 5 laps that led to him having to give up in the pit lane like that and throw it all away. Medium ERS versus hot lap from Owen versus Invade. But for our race lead, we're going to have another change in things. This time, it's Invade pulling out and going through. This time, George is sitting in behind and not going for it, but Jordan, the Academy teammate of Valkyrie's, going through. Maureen, first driver into the pit lane. That's for a set of hards, I'm going to assume, to go the rest of the way. He's pitting from the mediums. Gerard just threw right there into a point spot. But it's a 3-car race at the front of the field. Ferrari versus George. 2 non-race winners in RPL versus George, to be more specific. But the Ferrari Academy has quite the long history with Red Bull in this league. We'll find out if this history does continue the way it did a few laps ago when there was a coming together at turn 1. I'm going to figure out if Egg wants to commentate. I know it wasn't the way he would have wanted it. He wanted to at least maybe commentate for a little bit, but he ended up only having to host, and some issues ended up happening there. But either way, it's still in DRS range between our race leaders, Rapid, Owen, and Invade, the ones battling against George. Hi, Egg.
Hello.
Good to have you.
Yes.
Glad you're here.
I was Jeffing Mythic, but it's fine.
Well,
interesting race.
Meanwhile, we do have, yeah, it has been a good race so far. Meanwhile, we do have a battle once again for the race lead. George is boosting, and does he get both Ferraris this time? Invade goes way defensive down the inside, and he protects this one, but only just barely.
Yeah, I think George needs to commit more, but he might have a go here into turn 4 again. He's got no battery, but that won't phase him. Oh,
here he goes. Inside line. almost touching the two. They do touch now. And do they remain wheel to wheel into the S's? No way they keep this side by side. George has to concede the place, and he does.
Yeah, George isn't one to give battles up, and Owen probably isn't happy with him. He just weaved on the exit there. I don't think he's very happy, but it's interesting. Interesting fight for the lead. We had an interesting dive bomb. I don't know if you saw it by Matthew Wrightson on Mythic a few laps ago.
I did see that slightly.
That was inspiring. But
well,
yeah, yes.
I will say about that, they did lose themselves quite a bit of time because
they did.
They're not even within DRS of Jordan or Valkyrie either now on different strategies too.
Very impressed with Jordan so far. He did well in quality, and his teammate was up there with him as well, and then I think he spun or something. I think he had like a half spin. Oh, he's done it again. He's same corner, I think. He's
oh my god.
He's gone off.
Well, Gerard right in the path of FBL. That was so close. Trying to rejoin this race. I mean, I will tell you, Egg, there has been a few mistakes here. To no surprise, some drivers still getting used to the game and the post-patch, but now a change in the lead once again. Rapid Owen retakes it over Invade, and Invade will be the one maybe being pressurized this time by George at turn 4. RPL Jordan threw up into 4th, but everything remains calm between the top 3 again.
I've got to say, Invade looks the most comfortable at the moment out of the top 3. He's got the most battery. And George is sliding every single traction zone. We also just had Jordan overtake Valk, who I'm sure wants to get off those softs ASAP. And has... Oh, I thought she just spun there as well, but no, she's all right. But yeah, those softs will now begin to blow up. They won't be very good for much.
Yeah, this is when they'll want to pit, right around now. We saw a medium runner pit just a lap ago. By the way, you mentioned some trades in places. Well, we had a swap, I believe... right around 12th and 13th and 14th and 15th. Those were the two guys swapping on the main straight. You know, it's not just the lead that we have all the time here in RPL, Egg. We've had those battles back there be quite spicy. And those guys just simple DRS passes, but some of them, Cobra Mac, one of those guys, who continued those battles further on.
Yeah, so I just want to point out SV, who has worsened his... I don't think he's going to DNF here. I think he just left the session. I think he had enough. But he spun after about 20 meters, and it was inspiring.
Is he ghosted, though, because he's going to be lapped?
Yeah, I think he's in AI. No, he's too far away. No, he's in AI. He's
our first pitter from the top spots, Egg. It is the Red Bull of Valkyrie. Invade retakes the lead, but gets run into at the braking zone from Rapid Owen, braking a bit late. Did that put any damage on the Ferrari car? None of the damage that he may have is visible, but weaving now in the straight is Rapid Owen, and he will remain ahead of George. You know what's interesting, though, about the whole Rapid Owen battle right there? George is used to another battle with another Owen. That does get frustrating sometimes, so no surprise there. But two Academy teammates, Matthew Wrightson, Azar, they stay put.
Owen just went wide off the chicane. And to be honest, the position they're in now, realistically, Ferrari should win with one of their cars. George is going to have to pull off a master stroke to get ahead. He basically has to split them. He has to split them at some point and get himself into P2 and then fight for the one. But he can't do anything from third at the moment.
19 of you watching, let's just give a small reminder as we've had action kind of simmer down a little bit. We've got F2 in Spain later this weekend. Tier 2 and Tier 1 remain in Bahrain for our other races that we have for you wanting to watch. FG Pac-Man, a second track limit penalty, very costly to him in this race, trying to push in a car that he doesn't seem used to. A Ferrari reserve after he rejoined the league after leaving in preseason. So, you spoke about it. These front three, here comes Owen.
Owen into the pits, interesting. A bit early, I imagine he's going to hard till the end. Turns in, and they are white tyres. He's going on hard. So he's getting an undercut on the top two. However, his tyres will be absolutely cooked at the end of the race. But yeah, I'm not sure where he's going to come out here. If he's going to get free air, he might come out ahead of. I think that's Valk coming down the main straight.
Gonna be crucial.
Yes, he's got a nice gap.
Especially with her pitting already. She's onto softs. She's gonna do a two-stop.
Yes, and Owen has got a nice gap to push into. Probably these hard.
Hold on, Frosty Life and Cobra Mac. This is side by side, and they almost touched right there. But these two have been at it since the very beginning, as you may have noticed. And fair play to them keeping it clean.
Two drivers that are currently being beaten by their teammates on track, but that could all change. They're having a nice battle. Yeah, Owen, the problem he's going to have is these hards take at least 2 laps to warm up to optimal temperature. And it's not... That's why I think starting on hards is actually a better way to go about things. Like Drift King and Lennon have done, and they're both doing, well, once pit stops happen, and then they're not going to be 6th and 7th. But this is a good performance so far from both these two in 6th and 7th in the slower cars.
Here comes Invade blinking first compared to him and George. He's going to pit next compared to his teammate. One other thing to mention about Shanghai's retirement that I've just seen a clip of as Optical comes in on the softs. A little late for him. Shanghai, we didn't get to see it fully at the start, but he got put off and he got lifted up into the air with 2 cars alongside him. That is what ended his race there, having to retire from this one. So Gerard behind Lennon, down the inside, thinking about it, tucks back in. But while Valkyrie set the fastest lap, she's through an Owen and Invade, but she is on a 2-stop. So realistically, this is good for where she's at, Egg.
It is. Yesterday we did a pre-season test, sort of, all to his welcome, and the 2-stop appeared to be absolutely horrendous. So we'll see how she does.
You have to have so much more pace in order to do it.
She's got ahead of Owen here because the hards don't warm up.
But she's now having to go defensive. Does she hold on right here?
She's doing a really good job here for her teammate, trying to hold these two up. George is going to stay out, I think.
You're exactly right. This is the team game right here. The ultimate team game that she's playing in order to really be on a different strategy, 1, compared to George, but 2, be in a position to defend from these Ferraris, but for how much longer? Touching out of the corner. Valkyrie remaining ahead. These two battled in Tier 3 preseason in Spain, but once again, they're going to go toe-to-toe, and Valkyrie breaks late, but a little too deep she went. Rapido and back down the inside, and now touching alongside her on the rear wheel. They do remain single file now into the last corner, but both of them will have DRS. Azure is in, and there may be more coming soon. Here comes Valkyrie, now down the inside, on 1 car. It's the Academy teammate. Does the Academy teammate help out her with both Ferraris here? Here comes Owen.
Oh, wow. Big send from Owen. He gets the move done. Invade's now stuck behind though. And, well, this is really all helping out George, who is... I think he's actually extending the gap between these guys, but he's definitely not losing time. And he's going to come out on really good tyres compared to these guys. So this is playing into George's hands very nicely.
We look at the leader gap right now, and we do see what the pit stop loss was last game. 23 seconds. Well, as Owen gets by and Lennon right there, and that was pretty good right there from Owen. The interesting thing is, while this battling did happen, they still were catching George by a little bit, but not by a lot. So once George comes out into this race once again, likely on hard tires, he will have better hard tires for the end of the race and will be in a better spot than he would be in if he pitted just a few laps earlier. So this battling, although he's going to come out behind it, I'm going to guess, he won't be far behind. And here comes Invade trying to go left to right, and now down the inside on Lennon, squeezing right here and push to the curb. Invade is through. Mythic through on Cobra Mac, the Academy teammate. But more importantly, Egg, like you were mentioning, George is in.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes out. Chicken, don't pit. Oh my god, no, you possible it. Why have you done that? No. He's now going to have to do a 2-stop because the mediums cannot do half the race. So he was in such a good position and he's completely thrown it away. But anyway, George, oh no, sorry, not George. Valk is going to now try and hold up the 2 Ferraris. George has come out about 4 or 5 seconds down the road. He's on mediums.
Oh, we got it coming together. Hold on. FG Pac-Man is missing half of his left side of the wing. And Jake Bandy has been collected in it as well. That is at the back of the field. Not going to be anything for points, but unfortunate for those guys as Matthew Wrightson has finally been able to defend from Cobra Mac right there as Cobra Mac. has yet to pit. He's one of them. And you're right, this battle continues again.
Oh my god.
What a send! What a switchback! Rapid Owen squeezing and banging past Valkyrie, but goes through into the lead of the race. But can he hold it?
Yeah, it's like an Alonso 2023 move there. That was quite good. I am very disappointed in George. He has now gone on to mediums again. So he's going to have to stop again. And he's basically destroyed his race.
Invade had a look down the inside, and Valkyrie right there at the second to last corner. Egg, you're echoing.
Oh, sorry.
That was a pretty bad echo. But Invade has ran wide there at the last corner, going into the rumble strip. However, it's allowed Valkyrie to go get Owen on her own. Here she comes down the inside, through into the lead of the race. She retakes it, but then defends for turn 1. And the interesting thing about what George did is I don't think that's going to work. Even if you get a safety car, it's just not going to work. And right now, speaking of work, the two teammates working it out for second place. Invade back up through ahead of Owen.
Yeah, Owen let him through there. Owen had a massive slide out of turn 2, and he just out. I think they're all at least Invade and Owen are in a party together, so they know what they're doing. But
they usually are good friends.
Valk's doing a good job.
Race together.
Yeah, Valk's doing a good job here for George, if George was on the right strategy, but he's completely bottled it, so he's not. I'm impressed by Lennon. He's going to stay out and go on mediums in about 3 laps, and I think he's going to get a good result here in the Williams.
I couldn't see where besides Drift King and Cobra Mac, but there was a position change right before this one we see now. George threw on Lennon. It feels a little bit better for George just going on the wrong strategy and throwing it all away right there. Just like you mentioned on the one driver who went to mediums right there a little bit ago. Drift King, you're throwing it away, and it's so unfortunate. Optical through for 9th place here. He's on the mediums and on the better tire. This is a car that should really not be right where it's at. Pretty good from him. For the lead, though,
race.
Once again, you're right. Here we go. Invade now behind Valkyrie, but does he stay behind her? Here goes Invade on the inside. Both trying to split Valkyrie, the Ferraris.
Oh my god.
Invade up through into the lead of this race once again. Yellow flags. That is further back. That is Marine. But while this is happening, collision almost. Rapid Owen gets shoved off by Valkyrie, and is that damage on the left side?
There was a collision. They were going through turn 2, and I don't think Valk left enough space, and Owen had to go over the gravel, and I think got an illegal overtake for it. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards a Valk penalty there, but I'm not sure. George isn't really catching either, which is concerning.
Oh, big slide out of turn 8 from Rapid Owen. And while that was happening, Jordan did get Lennon. Maybe this is what will help the guys here at the Red Bull Academy if it doesn't go all the way it should for Valkyrie or George. You get Jordan and the V-Carb onto the podium. You have V-Carb being the 6th best team. That'd be a big shock.
Yeah, both Red Bulls are going to come out, as far as I can work out, like P10 or P11. As a retirement, it's in the pit lane. That's boring. A safety car would have absolutely thrown this race on its head. But anyway, no safety car. Valk has lost DRS, and Owen will probably just fly past there here. And George is still not close enough. Nowhere near.
But Valkyrie has been overtaken by Rapid Owen now. Rapid Owen gets the pass done, but will he be able to claw his way up to his teammate? These soft tires for Valkyrie are going to be dying and going over the edge right about now. This is where she's going to have to get her teammate DRS at some point when she is out of DRS here from the Ferraris. We got both Haas drivers on the main straight going for a move. That is Drift King through on Frosty Life, who is yet to pit. He's one of 3 drivers, I think, yet to pit. Fair play for Cobra Mac, going 16 laps in the mediums. Quite the tire whisperer from what we saw in Tier 3 preseason as well.
Yeah, I don't know if tire whisperer is the right word. I think just refuses to pit might be.
That too.
He's you can see he's like, yeah, his tires are probably about 80% now. Pac-Man has left, but
he was one who gave up in the pit lane too.
Obstacle is about to probably pass Matthew Wrightson here, but he's not going to be able to go to the end. He has to pit because those mediums won't go to the end. I just don't rate the strategy for most of these guys who have elected not to use the hard tyre, which is by far the best tyre.
But
So,
Cobra Mac has got a puncture. He
yeah,
has got a
not
puncture
surprising.
on the left rear tire. And this is what I was going to mention about him that you were going to maybe say as he's now spun it fully around. He has a bit of damage on the left end plate, so I don't really understand why he stayed out for as long as he did right there. Blue Goggy saying in Twitch chat, this is actual pain watching the team with the best tire wear going for 2 stops. Well, Valkyrie is in for her 2nd stop, so I can see your point there.
God.
But the 2 Ferraris are back in play with DRS.
Right, Val goes on to mediums. So she'll be flying, but she will be miles away.
No track
The 2
position, though,
Ferraris
like
are going
you
to now
said.
pull away, I think. 2 Ferraris. George's tyres are only about 2 laps away from falling over 25%, and then the Ferraris will be quicker. So I think the Ferraris still 1-2 in the bag here. It's just a question of who actually wins the race.
We have wheel-to-wheel action. Drift King staying ahead of Azur right there. And right now in corner exit, I think Azur is just out traction Drift King to get the place. But Drift King back down the inside, using a bit of that battery and going through right here. Neat little battle here for 9th place. Both drivers have pitted. Lennon has not in front of these guys. Lennon will come out behind these guys, so this will be another place for these guys in the points. But fair play to them. Fair play to Optical keeping in the points for Alpine. But like you said, this is going to be a Ferrari race. And we know this podium will be going to RPL Jordan as things end, due to the fact that George Alp Williams did go onto the same tire, and you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to go onto the same tire during one race unless it's declared a wet race.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I mean, George left the party in quali we were in because he wanted to focus, and if he stayed in, I would have told him what strategy to do, but he obviously doesn't care. He's catching the Ferraris now, but it's just that they're going to tow each other along, and he hasn't really got much of a chance here. I think he would have had a chance if he went on hards, though, so it's just disappointing, to be honest.
I mean, these are the guys I had in prediction for the championship here, as Lennon does come in finally, and probably going to go into the softs at this point with how much he extended. Maybe mediums, probably mediums.
Mediums,
but
I think.
with the Ferraris, though, as I was going to say, these were the guys I predicted for the championship to go. Yeah, mediums. These were the guys I predicted. Ferraris having it to their own now. Matthew Wrightson has been overtaken by Optical and has just had a big tank slapper out of turn 2, losing the rear majorly. Azur and Drift King, who are battling, will catch up from this, but wheel to wheel, Azur in front.
Yeah, I think Matthew Wrightson will probably get P6 in this race now.
Well, based on what we saw with him in preseason and his pace, this is a bit better.
This is good. This is where the muck is meant to be. I mean, he's not meant to be behind Alpine, but the Alpine's on a different strategy, so it's fair enough.
And you're also behind RPL Jordan, who says it's his best track, but maybe questionably, maybe not in Tier 3 in a top car, of course, in the future with this pace. No doubt.
I think if he was in the Red Bull alongside George, they'd be a good team. But Valk not really delivering down in P10. She's going to go to the end and probably won't finish P10. I imagine she'll finish somewhere like P7, P8, maybe.
Well,
yeah,
she did overtake right there for
P10.
And
she
sorry
did.
to cut, and I was just going to say another change in the lead. Rapido in this time in front.
They are just sharing DRS. They're going to catch up to the lap car, the Williams. Yeah. And George is now in the DRS. I don't know how he's managed it, but he's got into DRS here.
Well, he's got pace, but he's going to have to pit again. This is the problem for him. And that is not beneficial at all. Matthew Wrightson having a peek down the inside. Not going to go for it. Frosty Life finally into the pits as well on the hards. Drift King and Azur still going at it. Drift King the one in front now out of the exit of turn 1. Optical holding on into turn 4. But Matthew Wrightson goes up the outside and goes through. But is he gone too deep right there? Side by side still. Pinching. Squeezing. Matthew Wrightson through. Good move right there.
Very good battle. Good battle. I mean, he's a bit close to absolutely killing the Alpine in the right-hand part of the chicane, but he gets the move done, and I think he might try and push on now because the Alpine's tyres probably start dying. George, I imagine, will do another 2 laps and then go on starts and see what happens. Jordan is very much looking at a podium here.
If George pits now, he comes out just in 10th, I believe, with where he's at right here. So we'll see what happens. But either way, 3-car race at the front of the field. And Matthew writes, and I'm surprised that he went the long way around there instead of the inside. But will this be the way both Ferraris go? Here we go. Side by side on the main straight. RSF1 invade through. George, way too deep. Almost collects both them. 3 wide into 1. But this time, Rapid Owen in front of both them. And now, side by side touching still between them. Now George going balls deep. 3 abreast into 4.
Okay. Yes, he's all contact between him and the invade on the exit there, but George gets into P2. As I believe makes a move. There's absolute carnage going on in P7. What is this?
Yeah, Valkyrie's got both them. Valkyrie threw on the both, but Azure once again with Drift King. This has been this way since the start of this race, and they've not crashed once at all. So they've done a really good job going at it toe to toe, and this time Azure edges past.
We missed optical pitting as well. He's down in P13 now. He's on to mediums to finish the race.
So stop there.
George, I think George is going for glory here. I think he might just go into the lead and then see what happens. Because he knows he can't make it to the end. But yeah, sort of thing he would do. I just want to say a good race so far from Mythic. He's up in P5.
Yes.
And he's had a very quiet one, but it's a solid race for him in McLaren. He's not really doing anything now. He's just driving around. But fair play. Fair play, well done, Mythic.
Same with Gerard as well, getting both V-carbs in the points for right now. Well, ERS between the top 3 is all below 50%, and now we're about to see 3 abreast again. Invade going risky on the inside, but backs out of it. Rapid Owen has George down his inside and gets squeezed onto the curb. Now Rapid Owen does the same back, squeezing him almost off track, and now Invade right there in the fight. Give him part of the action here. He's looking in the background, lurking while these two battle it out, and Owen still remains in front, and now banging, George slides.
Oh, wow. George, that's an incredible save by George, but I think he's cooked his tyres. He literally should have been in the wall there. That was impressive to save that. I don't know if it was really either that. I think it was just the coming together, like they're both trying to go to the same piece of track. But yeah, I don't think George has probably lost his head at this point. I can't lie.
I would have to agree with that, with where this is at. It's good to see these battles, but you know that he's not going to be winning this race, and he's just affecting both Ferrari's chances to battle it out amongst themselves. And you know what? Jordan, right there with Mythic, is definitely lurking in the background now. While that happened, we had Drift King go on to a new set of mediums. I think this is a 2-stop for him. This has put Lennon into the points, and I don't think Lennon is that far off of Gerard either. Optical in DRS of FBL. Both Haas and DRS of each other. Cobra Mac gets a 3-second, and this is the big battle here. Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari.
Yeah, George doesn't pit again. I seriously do think he's just lost his head now, and he's just going for glory.
Well,
but here he goes into turn 1. Oh my god.
Round the outside. This is going to be the long way around. Maybe a cutback from George here if he can get the traction. He can't get there on Rapid Owen, but Invade is pushing him along, telling him to figure out what he wants to do. Make up your mind. Are you pitting or are you not pitting here, George? Well, George will tuck back in and almost cuts Invade off, and his whole wing would come off with it too. Lucky enough, though, Invade just timed the braking in time to not run in the back of him. That was so close right there between the two.
Yeah, I think once this all filters out and George decides he's got to pit, it's going to be a straight fight between the Ferraris. Invade currently has more battery because he's just sat behind the two who are actually fighting.
But if there's a big collision here at all, keep in mind, Jordan is only 5 seconds back. We've seen collisions happen in Bahrain here. Season 8 F1 being one of them, for Cookie and Cryptic's sake, going for the win. That was a Red Bull and Ferrari, funnily enough, back then. Where it's a Red Bull Ferrari this time. This would be the Red Bull driver of George and the Ferrari drivers right here, who would be the ones involved.
Like that is Martin? No, Cobra Mac.
Cobra Mac has been lapped. That's one of 3 guys to be lapped in this race.
Yeah, George pit this lap as Owen goes off at the final corner. No,
Nope.
Okay, George is just okay.
DRS online though for George. Now pulling out. And going through on Rapid Owen. Does Invade take advantage of the teammate here? No, Rapid Owen switches back and goes into him. And he tried a big dummy right there to fake him out.
Oh,
and it just did not work. But Rapid Owen has gone off.
Oh, what a bottle job. Unbelievable. What a bottle. And this is basically handed victory to Invade. As long as he can like not lose time to Owen, I think he's just going to win.
I think what George did right there was put Rapid Owen into a mistake to crumble under the pressure. And after the first stop, he was frustrated with Rapid Owen. We could tell both of them were frustrated with each other. And now he's got in his head and it's really affected them. Valkyrie gone through on Matthew Wright's in there for P6. But Drift King is in a battle with another driver this time. This time it's FBL having quite a quiet race down in P13. That's Sauber. Although it's the slowest car, he's making a decent bit of it. But it just does not look great from these guys. Same with the Haas as well.
No. The Haas is fairly mid in a race, having driven it. If George pits this lap, he'll come out in P7 and we'll probably be able to get P6. Sorry,
but
P5.
the thing is, though, I mean, was it worth it?
Please pit, please pit, please pit, please pit, please pit. Oh my god.
He stays out, and he's going to be defending from Invade now, while Invade tries to go this time past George. Remember, George has to be careful. He already has a ban in Tier 1 and Tier 2 from racing at the start of this game. Yes. This is why he's racing Tier 3. But Invade going around the outside, having the inside for Turn 2, goes through!
Good move. Good move by Invade. George won't have the DRS. He has nothing to fight. It's Turn 4, and now Invade is into the lead, and there's a real possibility he won't lose it. This could be he could lead to the flag now, as long as George pits this lap, which he really should. Yeah, Invade could be in the money here.
Well, I must say, George, with that fighting, it's created a lot of action, and it's quite a show to say the least. But Invade, what a powering move right there to go through. I know you'd have the better tire wear compared to George anyways, but he's in a Red Bull, a car that's faster than the Ferrari. Realistically, you don't usually see a move made like that at Turn 2. Usually you just remain only wheel to wheel, not getting through on another driver like that. And Rapid Owen, I think he's really pushing to get back up to Invade right here. 3 seconds behind compared to 5 seconds behind just a lap or two ago.
George is losing time to even Matthew Wright.
Spinner. That is the V-carb of Girard. He's lost only one place. He may stay in the points, but that is a costly mistake there from the Red Bull Academy driver.
You can see he's got pace, Girard. He's spun, I think, 3 times now.
George is still not
George
pitting.
Isn't pitting.
Are you in disgust? Because I might be too. He's going to go for it again, I think. Boosting now. Now on Invade. Down the inside. Late lunge. Oh, and he tried to fake him out. Did he try to get the DRS? Did he get the DRS? He did not. Invade got the DRS for a second lap straight, but George has been left in the dust now.
I mean, this just isn't helping George. He's completely lost his head. He needs to pit now and go on to softs and just, like, I don't know, blitz the last 3 laps.
But he's not going to pass Valkyrie or Matthew Wrights in here who are in a battle as well if he doesn't pit now.
If he pitted like 3 laps ago, it would have been fine.
He'd still be in the points, George, but he's not going to get a decent result out of it, though, going on the 2-stop. Optical through with DRS on Drift King. But here's the guys who've done 2-stops, though, for further context to see how this has gone. SV, by the way, 4 stops, the most in a Tier 3 race so far, because we've only had 1 race. You got TTV, Marine, you got Drift King, Optical, Valkyrie, and soon to be George, unless he gets disqualified here. Going on to 2 stops here in this race. So the 2-stop not really playing dividends to these drivers unless they'll get a safety car, which they haven't. Safety car free race here in Tier 3 for the first race.
I think the safety car is quite rare at this track, I'd say.
But it's a good thing, though. Oh, George, massive lockup and a rear lock that may cost him here. Does he pit? Yes, he does.
Finally. Oh. Right, he's going to go on to softs. He's gone about 2 miles an hour into the pit lane. I think he's going to come out in P7.
Want to clarify here, Rapid Owen dancing on the straight now in probably a celebratory one where he celebrates George pitting. Just want to mention here as he does go into softs there as Marine picks up a 3-second. RPL Jordan has not had an RPL podium in quite a while. I think since the F2 days, back in F122, we'd have to go back to for his podium. So he's not, he didn't get a single podium in last game cycle, if I'm correct. So we'll see if he does get one there. V-Carb have not had a podium in any RPL tier that is a lap car around.
Yeah,
V-Carb have not had a podium in any RPL tier, by the way, since Sam Steed in Tier 2 Imola last season, a race that George won.
Oh, I think George might be able to catch these two in front of him. There's a possibility.
That would be a big one if he can.
They're not that far ahead, and they're fighting now. They've just gone wheel into
there you go. They've thrown it away for George. Valkyrie through. Matthew Wrightson back down the inside. Oh, that was a big dummy. And he did not see him coming there. Right there. Matthew Wrightson through for now, but both banging wheels, and this will only help George.
Yeah, I mean, it's only about P5, but yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. But George, I think, big slide. Big slide by George.
Yep, lost him 2 tenths right there.
Should catch.
So, Invade has only ever had one podium before, back in F2 in Season 17 Japan. Rapid Owen has never had one in RPL. He only joined just a few months ago. And RPL Jordan, a former race winner, I don't know if he's ever had podiums in F1 cars. Maybe F1.5 he did. But this would be a miraculous result for him. Once again, moves on the main straight. Valkyrie passes Matthew Wrightson, but at what cost? They're going to be backed up into George, and he's going to get DRS here either this time or next time.
Yeah, I think Matthew Wrightson, big slide as well. Massive slide, and that'll give George DRS. So this is the last 2 laps. George is going to have DRS. This is pretty much the only on-track fight we have for the points. As another spinner.
Maureen, he's just mentioned in chat that his pedals are broken and this is going to be a retirement.
Yeah,
this is our third one of the race.
I can smell a dive bomb from George here. Oh no, he's not even going to have the dive bomb. He's just completely obliterated him on the traction. Right, now George only has to get his teammate, and that should be pretty easy down the main straight as long as he's patient. I don't think he will be.
Well, we'll find out. Final lap this time for both Ferraris in just a moment. Here we go. 2 teammates swapping. George through.
It's a disappointing day for Red Bull, I'd say. And considering their main rivals, Ferrari, are going to get max points here. Who's got fastest lap, actually? Okay, Valk has fastest lap. So pretty much max points for Ferrari. And they're only going to come away with 19. So, yeah, not a great day for Red Bull here.
Yeah, absolutely not. And it's unfortunate there that they ended up costing themselves the way they did. One thing to mention about Invade here, leading this race with just 2 sectors remaining from the British driver. He's been in this car in Tier 2 a few opportunities last season, and he's not been in a top car quite a bit. Why? Well, because the team principals didn't really trust him in a top car until we got a Tier 3. He didn't really get a chance in a top car quite a bit from when he was under Beatnik's Academy back in Mercedes last game, or what used to be George's Academy, now J&T's Academy at Ferrari, because he couldn't perform in the Ferraris as much. But being out of the league from F1.5 in the original start there of what was Tier 2 before Tier 2, in and out of the league since 2020, a 4-year span of Invade racing this league, he'll now finally get to call himself a race winner if he can just get through to the line.
Impressive performance by Invade. He was helped out a lot by Owen spinning and George's antics, but he is going to come through as long as he can do the final corner. Going to come through and win here. Very impressive and a good way to start the season.
RSF1 Invade has been in and out of RPL since the very start of F1.5, but never has he been on the top step of the podium before. Almost 4 years in the making, RSF1 Invade picks up his maiden win! He wins the Bahrain Grand Prix and takes his first Tier 3 win and the first Tier 3 race. Rapid Owen gets a first podium. RPL Jordan returns to the podium. Mythic 4th, George 5th, Valkyrie 6th, and Matthew Wrightson hangs on for P7 in his return as well. George takes fastest lap, and we still got a battle for 11th. I think they traded spots just back there as well.
Very impressive by Lennon to get P9 here in this Williams.
Are we going to get a drag race? I don't think so.
No.
Drift King holds on for P11, but in the end of the points there, Egg, Azar, Lennon, Gerard.
Yeah, I'm impressed by that there. Good points at the Williams.
Good
Not much
return.
more you can do in that car, so
Good
well done
return.
to him.
Former Tier 2 winner right there. Jake Bandy, the last one to come across line. We only had 3 retire from this race. RSF1 Invade wins the first RPL Tier 3 race. Gabe says Azar driver today.
Yeah,
Talk about that later.
Well, yeah, I think he gained a lot of
disagree.
spots, started at the back, so... Started at the back, so good performance by him, but he is in a good car, so... It's slightly ski whiff with that. But, let's start driver of the day then, Ryan.
Well, we'll talk about driver of the day after these podium celebrations and results get over.
Yes.
RSF1 Invade wins his first RPL race, and it comes in Bahrain. All Italian teams on the podium. You got the V-Carb up there for the first time since Sam Steed did it in Imola Tier 2 at the start of last game. Jordan's back up there. Rapid Owen's up there for the first time. They sprayed the champagne, but here are your final results. Azar from P19 to P8, I mean, that's a driver of the day worthy performance, but I don't know if I'd give it to him. There's a few other good contenders. Here are your full points results. Invade, Owen, Ferrari 1-2. V-Carb on the podium with Jordan, then Mythic, George Valk, Matthew Wrightson, Azar, Lennon, and Gerard on debut. You have two drivers on debut in points. You have a few drivers returning in the points. Here are your retirements. You only had 3 of them. Driver of the day. So I think there's a few contenders for this. I think Invade has to be one of them, winning his first race. I think Jordan is one of them in the V-Carb, doing what he did. And the other options would have to be either Lennon and Azar for those 3-4 drivers in contention.
I'd say my specific driver of the day is gonna be Invade. Made him win. You can't really take that away from him. I just want to say well done to Lennon in the Williams. There's an awful car, and he's got points in it. And well done to Mythic, who isn't amazing at the game, and he'll admit that. Getting P4.
Agreed.
I know it's to McLaren, but P4 is nothing to not talk about. So well done to those guys, and well done to Jordan on the podium as well.
Jordan in his RPL return on the RPL podium. Rapid Owen picks up a first podium, making it Ferrari 1-2. An Italian 1-2-3 based on the teams. A British 1-2. Spain back on the podium in an RPL race. There's some interesting stuff for you guys. But yeah, driver of the day. Invade for me as well. I agree on that. I think my close contenders, though, Azar from P19 to P8. I hope to see more of him. Not sure what his name is in the Discord server. Lennon in return, up there as well. I mean, Jordan's good at Bahrain, so he deserves a shout out as well. And any of those guys really deserve the 2nd through 3rd place, 4th place spots of driver of the day. And you said Mythic as well. I'm not gonna ignore it. Mythic dropped down from tier 2 to tier 3, and you know, maybe he'll win a race this season. We'll find out.
Yes.
Not out of the question. Not out of the question if we get a crazy race here. We could have one in tier 3. And Mythic got a P5 in Monza tier 2 last season based on a crazy race, so you just don't know.
I'd say it's a strong opening race with a lot of action, a lot of antics from certain people. But yeah, good first race, official first race for tier 3 there.
That is correct. So there are still a few of you watching, and as we let you go here, we're going to remind you where we are at for the rest of the weekend. We have tier 2 tomorrow in Bahrain to kick off the rest of the weekend. F2 in Spain to kick off their return. And F1 Tier 1 in Bahrain. Any closing thoughts there, Egg, from what we noticed today? I will say some guys going on 2 stops, and as we expected, it didn't work out. But good thing to notice if you're a Tier 1 driver like yourself.
Sorry. What was the question?
I was just going to say, any closing thoughts? Because I would have to say for myself, we noticed the 2-step didn't work to no surprise, but good information for yourself for Tier 1.
Yeah, I would knew that anyway. But yes, it is very apparent that 2-stop doesn't work at this track.
Well, We know it now. If we didn't before, you're going to need a safety car, and we didn't have one. We didn't even have a VSC, a very clean first tier 3 race. So bravo to all of our drivers. Thank you, Egg, as well, for hosting this tier. Glad to have it here.
Yes, sir.
It's good to see. Especially for the drivers who may not feel like they're as fast, they get the chance here in tier 3. Either way, folks, Ryan Searles, Eggles07, both signing off for tonight. Catch us tomorrow in tier 2 for more action at the Bahrain circuit. Till next time, folks, goodbye and good night. We'll see you then.